My name is Emmanuelle Chasse, and I'm 37 years old.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory TV. This is Gertrude Matcha here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand. And I am graced with the presence of yet another amazing young woman coming to us all the way from Canada this time. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Emmanuelle Chasse, and I'm 37 years old, from Montreal, Canada, and I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you. My story is a long one, but I guess the pivotal point in my life, the moment that was the aha moment, was after losing my right eye to a long battle with glaucoma. And shortly after finding out that my husband of many years was being unfaithful, sort of all at the same time, and that throughout all of the surgeries and all of the process that I was going through, the surgeries, the appointments, the medical appointments, sort of finding out that he was being unfaithful and, you know, receiving the calls, the emails, the text messages confirming that, as I was on my end struggling, feeling that my family was behind me, supporting me, that, you know, my ex-husband had created a double life. And so I felt very lost in that moment and unworthy of living. And I allowed myself to spiral out of control into this abyss of darkness, to a point where it's looking at my children and feeling sorry that they have me as a mother. And so, you know, at the bottom of the barrel, there's only one way, and that's up. That's always been my motto. I love life. I've always loved life. But I got very stuck in the why me mentality. And why is this happening to me? Haven't I been through enough? There can't be a God. I've been sort of thrown off the boat, the love boat, and I was cast away. And I didn't like the dialogue in my head, because that's just not me. And so you are faced with making a decision. Are you going to stay in that pity party? Or are you going to get up, stand up, shake it off, face the world? And looking at my two beautiful boys, that was the decision I made.
Wow. What a journey you've been on. And, you know, this is such a, unfortunately, common thing that happens to a lot of women in life. I was married for 27 years. Same story. My thoughts were taking me to a dark place when I decided to leave. I ended up with congestive heart failure. Almost died of heart failure in a rice field in Indonesia. And I love what you said there, that, you know, when you hit rock bottom, the only way from there was up. It kind of taught me that every time I go down, I get excited, but I'm feeling at the lowest point in my life, because life is cyclical, right? It's got those ups and downs. And it's when you start learning to ride the waves that life throws at us,
Absolutely,
that you really start to live.
So, asking what else is possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember the day that I said, okay, I'm leaving. Now, I'd been unemployed, out of work, and, you know, quote unquote, sick for about a year. I miscarried my third child, and a month later, the surgery started. So there was a whole year of darkness. And I remember grabbing my boys and walking down to our local welfare office. I'm not sure if that's how you call it in New Zealand, the social, you know, the social assistance.
Yes.
And having my boys by each hand and saying, this is not about pride, this is about survival. If you stay in this relationship, you're going to lose a piece of yourself. And getting to the counter and explaining the situation to the woman, not in great detail, but asking her what the application process was.
Yes.
And there was a woman behind the desk who looked at me in my eyes and said, does he hit you? And I thought, what a strange question. I said, no. She says, is he violent towards you or the children? And I said,
No.
no. And she said, well, it's only $300 a month. If I were you, I'd go home and try to work it out.
Oh, are you
Those
serious?
woman's words imprinted in my mind and on my heart. And I stayed in that relationship for 8 years. And in those 8 years, I built a wall around my heart.
Yeah.
You know, and that was in hindsight, it was to learn to love again. But for a long time, my life was a blur. It was just getting through another day. Yeah.
It's funny because I come from a culture where in Africa, unless a man is physically beating you up, people think there's no real excuse for you to leave. And I didn't realize it happens in the Western world as well. I had a lot of people say the same thing, but he pays the bills, he looks after the children, he doesn't beat you up. Why are you leaving him?
And he work? Does he have a job?
Yes. Yeah, and yes, he ticks all of those boxes. Yeah, I had that. And I stayed on as well. And this is the thing about women, right? My staying on was because I didn't want my children to be brought up by a stepmother. I know that I should have left 10 years prior to this, and I didn't. And I just hung in there for years. And I'm grateful for my 3 beautiful children that I would never exchange. And I'm grateful that I tried to keep it together for as long as I did. But I remember having this dream one night. And in the dream, I just heard a voice that said, "You are the glue. You are the glue that's keeping this together." And I woke up that morning and it felt like I was trying to keep my marriage together with bubble gum, an adhesive that just wasn't sticking. And when you can resonate to that too, right? Wow. So you lost your business too in the middle of all of this?
No, this was actually, one day I woke up and I said, I'm going to make him love me. I can make him love me again. And that's from, the abuse of a father, the sexual abuse, the violence as a child, the always needing validation. And now I managed to somehow convince myself that it was my fault, right? I was a hideous monster. I'd lost an eye. He'd seen me without it the 3 months before you get the prosthesis. I gained a bunch of weight from having kids. So, I'm going to make him love me. I'm going to make him fall in love with me. This isn't his fault. He needed an outlet because poor him, he had to take care of me while I was going through this.
Yeah.
And so I decided, baking sweets from home, and it grew into a business. And so we opened the businesses together. In 2018, my youngest son came up to me just before Christmas, and he was 10 years old, 11 years old. And he said, "Mommy, Daddy has another cell phone. And when you leave the house and you're working late at the bakery, Daddy's always texting other people on this cell phone." And of course I went, "Hun, that's an accusation." And he's, because he kept saying, "Are you going to talk to Daddy about it?" And my heart dropped. And I knew I had to do something because I'm raising men who are going to have relationships, and I'm teaching them how to treat women.
Yes.
And so I made the decision, to leave, to take the children. But shortly after, I'm single mom, 2 kids, running 2 bakeries, staff, employees, economics. And yeah. So just when I thought I turned the corner and I was like, I'm stepping into my greatness now, the universe had a different plan and said, "You know what? Maybe this is part of the old package. So we're really going to tug the rug from underneath your feet. You're going to fall on your bum. But this time when you rebuild, you're really going to step into the essence of who you are."
And that's what happened. Wow. And as women, we sometimes forget that we are the role models for our children. I remember when I left, I had a conversation with my daughters, all 3 of my kids. And my daughter was about 21 at the time. She had seen me leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back. And the last time I came back, she sat me on the bed and she said, "Mom, why are you back?" And I said, "Why? This is my home. This is my husband. How can you ask me that?" And she said, "Mom, Dad doesn't love you. He doesn't deserve you. And you are like a monkey in a cage. and that cage door is open and you don't know how to get out. And I remember thinking, who are you? Why are you saying this to me? And hating her for it. But it took me 4 years to fully process that and to realize that I was trapped in this illusion, this image that we portray to the world of the perfect family, husband, 2 cars, 3 beautiful children, businesses. And yet I was dying inside. And then when I did walk out, like you, I walked out with nothing. I lost a $4.5 million property investing business. I lost my health. I was flat on my back, literally in a rice field.
Broken and broken. Yeah, like broken. Yeah, we should put that on a t-shirt, you know. When you're broken, there's only one way up, you know.
Oh, I love that.
But that makes so much sense, because my ex-husband, in front of everyone else, I mean, this is why I thought I was crazy for so long. Like, he would see children on the street and he was like, well, hello, how are you? And he would greet women and people and open doors for little old ladies, and everyone loved him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the relationship, it was always like, oh, he's so social, he's so sweet, you're so lucky. And so the facade was so, you start to question yourself.
Yeah.
Beauty of narcissism.
Oh my gosh. So
your daughter is one very wise young woman.
She sure is. And she is my best friend in this world. She is my go-to person when I need advice. And she was always like that from a very young age. Wise beyond her age. And so I always fall on her when I need to bounce ideas off someone. She knows everything that's in my mind. She's my best friend. And now when you look back at your life, and if you could have a conversation with that younger woman at this critical point in her life, not knowing whether to go left or right, from what life has taught you, what 3 nuggets of wisdom would you give her?
Number one, I would definitely say, don't fear or anticipate the shame and judgment of others, because that's what held me in that relationship, was what will my family think? What will people think?
People say, yeah.
So I alienated myself on purpose. And I removed myself from my immediate family, and I stopped making friends and developing and working on friendships and relationships.
Yes.
The second thing is your intuition, your gut feeling. That moment when you lay in bed at night and you feel that something's wrong, that it's not right, that it's not just staying for the kids. But when you say that, you have a sinking feeling, just to rise up to that and meet it and say, okay, maybe it's not just about the kids. Maybe I'm feeling something. I need to listen to my body, my intuition, my soul, my higher self is speaking to me. And 3, just the strength to not take it personally and feel the need to constantly justify my worth. I was having arguments every day trying to convince him, but I love you, but I cook for you, but I do the laundry, but I make your lunch, but I write notes, but I dress up for you. But look, I've lost 60 pounds, but look at your children. They're so beautiful and wonderful. And I bake pies for your mom, but look, why don't you love me? Ugh, I didn't love me. It was that simple. How could he?
Yeah.
I stank of desperation.
Oh.
But, you know, that's what I would say. I'd say, take a shower, girl.
Oh. And it does start with self-love, right? Just honoring yourself first. And not a lot of women know how to do that, unfortunately. We don't know how to do that for ourselves.
And part of it is the anticipation and fear and judgment of others. Because if we didn't fear what our grandmothers or aunts or our sisters or brothers would say if we came to them, you know, it's not having any expectations of how they're going to react. When we expect things of others, we're already trying to gauge how it's going to go. And so I just never talked about it. Yeah, and when I did make the decision to leave, everyone went, "But he was such a nice guy. Are you
Yes,
sure?" And I went,
yes.
"Oh, you
If
know."
only you knew.
But like you said, the cars, the house, the children, the image,
Mm.
it becomes your identity. And when I
Yeah.
lost everything, I had no idea who I was.
And you know, what I always say to people is sometimes psychological abuse is almost worse than physical abuse because you don't have the scars to show what you're going through in your marriage. If a man punches you and you get a black eye, you can say, "This is what he did to me." When you don't have the evidence, you sometimes think you're being a little bit crazy as well, right? That you're being unreasonable. Maybe you haven't seen it properly. And then you stop trusting your intuition and the thing that tells you that something is not right here, something is off. Yeah. Yeah.
I was physically abused by my father when I was younger and sexually abused. And what you said just hit home because I remember very few of the beatings, but I remember every nasty word.
Oh,
Every
wow.
word of "you were never wanted, you were not planned, you should have been a boy, you're overweight," after growing up, every hurtful thing, "you're so stupid, you'll never
Mhm.
amount to anything." Those words, like you said, those scars,
Mhm.
you're constantly working on them, on not letting them define you.
Yeah.
Whereas the beatings, it's kind of like that pain is gone.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
makes so much sense.
wow. That does make sense. So now let me teleport you into the future as my final question for you today. If time was an illusion, we talked about your past, we've talked about your present, and we can teleport into your future to the older you at the age of 100. And you're sitting in your rocking chair, watching your grandchildren and your great grandchildren. Based on how you're living your life right now, what would you say to that woman?
What would I say to my future self?
Mm-hmm.
Don't get caught up. Don't get caught up on what I've realized now is the things that I feel are the most important are the ones that turn out not to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm as much as I'm being more mindful and I'm really practicing that, I find that the things that I kind of turned my nose up to are the ones that are the most significant. Driving my youngest son to school in the morning, being in the rat race and being in a hurry, and it's kind of like wiggling through traffic and always looking at the time, trying to get there. I would say, how was your journey?
Yeah.
I feel like we're always moving towards a destination. And I would tell her, how does it feel now to just look back
Relax.
and just relax, just be in the moment, to just, have seen the world through the eyes of love as opposed to expectation and condition and what it should be and who I should be and the roles that you play throughout your life, to just be.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your words of wisdom.
Thank you for
It's
having
such
me.
an absolute pleasure to have met you and welcome again to our tribe. I'm excited to see what we're going to be doing together in the coming future. And I thank everybody who tuned in today. Thank you so much for being here. I will be back again tomorrow with yet another one of these amazing women who are helping us launch the Herstory movement all over the world. So have a fantastic day wherever you are. Remember, it starts with self-love. I think that's the biggest message we got from today's interview. It starts with you valuing who you are, knowing what you want in life, and trusting yourself that you will be fine. You can do it. Step into the abyss and know that the universe will catch you. Thank you so much. Bye for now, everybody.